This week's Whispers, Pep protests he's not in the market unless a couple of defenders come along. United's squad copes with Cup and League, but who's on the special ones' special wanted list? And who's giving up summer in South America to brighten up winter over here? Hello, welcome to Football Whispers, your best guide anywhere to who's on the move and when. Joining us this week, Ossie Ardiles, a World Cup winner whose move from Argentina to leafy Tottenham heralded a revolution in the British game. And another Spurs stalwart, Paul Walsh. These two have a bit of history, but more of that later. First up, an easy guide to how Football Whispers actually works. Now, it's fair to say Pep Guardiola's first season in the Premier League hasn't gone exactly to plan, and the ups and downs of his first 6 months in England have been eagerly charted on the back pages. Back in the summer, the Spaniard allowed himself to predict good things for his new club and their supporters, and he was adamant that he was ready to adapt to the Premier League's unique challenges. A home win over Barcelona in the Champions League had him looking to a bright future in Europe as well. But a downturn in league fortunes led some sections of the media to suggest maybe he was rethinking his move to the Etihad. He denied it before sparking yet more speculation when he started talking about early retirement. But a lucky 5-0 win over West Ham in the FA Cup seems to have put things right, and Guardiola's normal good humour has returned. Even so, he says he's not dipping into the transfer market, well, not unless a couple of defenders come his way.
Since I am manager from Manchester City, we are interested for 1,000 million players. So we're going to play with the team. If we need something, maybe it's back, central defenders or fullback, maybe. But the other position we are covering off, and the next season is the next season.
They always say they're not buying anybody, and then they mention that they might be buying somebody. Do you think he needs a defender or two?
Oh, he does, yes. Not only that. Basically, he didn't change the team when he took Manchester City from Manuel Pellegrini. He didn't change the team so much. And this team, this squad of players with Manuel Pellegrini, they didn't, of course, they were in the top four, but they were not able to train to win the Premier League. That is what they are asking him to do. So he didn't change much, so he needed a lot of players, not only defenders.
What do you think to his first 6 months? Are you surprised at the headlines he's attracted?
I think he's underestimated that, when he's played in, say, Spain, apart from the top 3 or 4 clubs where you're really intense games, the rest of the games, they win fairly comfortably. But the Premier League's got much greater depth in terms of how physically challenging the games are right the way through and how difficult they are. And maybe had it a little bit easier in Germany as well. I think there's that to it, the media, the criticism of the goalkeeper and the obsession to play with a footballing goalkeeper who maybe is not the greatest shot stopper, playing at the back, John Stones, gambling, and taking chances and not knowing when to clear it and when to play. Simple things like that, those things get punished really quickly in England. It's the most intense league in the world, I think. And I think maybe he's just underestimated that a touch.
If you look at the formation, I mean, there's still an embarrassment of riches at Manchester City. Any side like this could take on the might of West Ham and win. But if you were to tweak it, is Otamendi at risk from this guy? Badstuber plays for Bayern.
He could well be. Guardiola's worked with him, would know what he's like. And, so sometimes when you've worked with people, you realise how good they are when you're up close with them, their mentality, their attitude, their abilities. And that you think to yourself, that's a player I would like to have one day. And that's maybe what he's thinking. All the outsiders, people like me, we think that someone like Van Dijk might improve them. And that might still be the case, we don't know. But certainly the back four is an area you would feel that they need to be a bit better in. And he's chopped and changed it a lot this season, almost disrespectfully at times. Kolarov coming and playing centrally and, maybe not showing some teams enough respect in that respect.
Obviously, you've managed as well as played, of course, and when you went to Japan, a foreign country, they gave you time. Do you think they'll give Guardiola the same amount of time?
Well, certainly they will give Guardiola a lot of time, but this is the biggest challenge in his illustrious career, without a shadow of a doubt. But he have it in Barcelona, for example. Basically, he produced the best team, I would say, ever in the history of football. Absolutely wonderful. But he have not only wonderful player, but he have Messi as well. Big difference. And when he went to Germany, for example, and again, being in Bayern Munich, really, you don't have any kind of opposition. The English league, the Premier League, is much more difficult, and I am not surprised that he's finding all these kind of problems. Of course, he's very adamant. He wants to play one way and so on. Maybe a little bit too much. Maybe trying to do that in England Premier League is much more difficult.
Will he buy his way into the Guardiola way? Do we give him a couple of seasons to spend big?
Well, I don't think you can just go and buy an Iniesta or a Messi. I mean, me and Ossie were talking before, and the one player in the world that could maybe improve Manchester City would be a Lionel Messi. But other than that, you can tweak it at the back and try and improve it, and that's what I think he may well try to do, just to make them that little bit more solid. Because at the top end of the pitch, they'll score goals and they've got creation. But it's an unrelenting world, especially in the media. And when things don't go well, someone like him is going to get criticised. And he struggled a little bit under the criticism.
Yeah, we're a special brand of football and a special brand of media as well. Time now for a roundup of some of the other transfer deals currently bubbling under. James Lorenzo is in our newsroom.
Thanks, Matt. Yes, we start today with Fernando Llorente and a potential switch from relegation-threatened Swansea to table-topping Chelsea. The Spaniard had hardly set the world alight in his 6 months in Wales, but Blues boss Antonio Conte seems keen for a reunion with his former Juventus striker in order to add depth to his front line. He could have got him for next to nothing in the summer, but the Blues opted instead to spend over £30 million on Michy Batshuayi, who, 6 months later, we think is being used as a sweetener for the Llorente deal. It's 4.6 currently, with rumours of Batshuayi going the other way on loan at 2.3. Those two figures will probably move in tandem as Chelsea look to balance their striking options. In fifth on 4.2 is Liverpool's prolonged interest in Quincy Promes. We pointed this one out as a deal of the day a couple of weeks ago, and as you can see, it's still charting. It might be a slow burner, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out just yet. One place back in sixth on 4.1 is Arsenal's approach for Italian striker Andrea Belotti. This one's jumped up from just 1.5 on Sunday, largely because of a £56 million bid, and more specifically, whether that bid ever existed or not. Torino's director of sport told Sky Sport Italia on Sunday that his club had rejected a bid of that amount from Arsenal, while The Independent reported yesterday that Arsenal never made that offer in the first place. It remains to be seen whether this is all hot air, but an index of 3.9 would suggest that there's at least a bit of substance to this one. My deal of the day today, however, is West Ham's pursuit of Brentford striker Scott Hogan, down there in ninth on 3.4. Having lost the battle to bring Sunderland's Jermaine Defoe back to East London, I would suspect that the Premier League side will push hard for this one. They have already tabled 2 offers for the 24-year-old, if reports are to be believed, but we think Brentford will hold out for a fee closer to the £15 million mark. Finally, a quick mention must go to Kyle Walker and Danny Rose, who, according to The Sun today, are the subjects of a £60 million bid from Jose Mourinho and Manchester United. Both are on an index of just 1, so at the moment we reckon this is just paper talk, but I was wondering what the boys in the studio think about this one.
It's Rich, him calling you boys. What do you reckon then to Walker and Rose? It's a flyer, surely.
Well, it's a rumor, of course, but it's impossible. No surprise, of course. I mean, we're talking about the best 2 fullback in the country, and in fact, Manchester United has serious problem in that 2 positions. But from the point of view of Spurs, we will never sell to our best player to a team, to a club that is in direct opposition to us. It won't happen.
Well, unlike the papers, we can deal in an index that actually gives us a good idea as to whether it might happen or not. A new stand, half the stadium you could pay for, couldn't he?
It could be, but I agree with Ossie. I mean, there's absolutely no chance of this one happening. I'm a real big fan of Danny Rose, not so much of Walker. He would be a player that Manchester United would certainly want. It sounds like he's made his mind up about Luke Shaw, so there's a possible swap. You could maybe look at that. No, it's not happening.
Another back page headline, your old side Liverpool apparently having to resist a £60 million offer for Coutinho from Real Madrid.
Yeah, well, this is all about the player, I think, and what he really wants to do. Because as we've seen before, whether it be Gareth Bale, Ronaldo, when a player wants to go to Real Madrid, normally they end up forcing their way to get there one way or the other. And, you know, this is a player that, you know, is a difference for Liverpool in winning games a lot of the time through the season. It'd be a massive loss to them, and I think it would take more than 60 million, to be honest.
Well, 60 million, it's chicken feed, isn't it, nowadays? Well, like his rival across the city, Jose Mourinho has been kicking up and kicking out at times this season. But United seem to have hit their stride in League and Cup, so maybe Jose doesn't need to go shopping. Well, he doesn't usually do a lot of shopping in January, but that hasn't stopped him spending. In 2014, Chelsea were third in the table. A year later, they were top. Position 3 led to 3 new signings, while position 1 meant only 1 new player arrived. Mourinho wrote an Abramovich cheque for nearly £48 million 3 years ago and over £26 million on one player, Cuadrado, in 2015. He can go wrong, can't he, with just one player, as he did with Cuadrado, but he's got the money at United. Do you think he'll spend?
He certainly had the money, and he needs reinforcement in the squad, definitely. After saying that, I mean, I can see that Jose is going to move in the market maybe at the end of the season. Unless a very good player, somebody they really need in the squad, happen right now. But I cannot see anybody at the moment.
You could argue that Mourinho only gets his way in things by spending other people's money.
Yeah, he's not frightened or shy to spend big money on the players that he thinks going to improve them. Man United is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and he wants to make them great again. And spending is the only way that he can really do that at a club like United. And you know, I'm not sure he'll get what he wants this window, but he's certainly identified the players that he doesn't want. And I think if he can get those out and if someone became available that would really improve them, you know, he's obviously looking at fullbacks. Now, he might not get what he wants there. He might have to look elsewhere. But, you know, he's in the market for improving his team, but we're just not sure where and who.
Well, one player heavily rumoured to be on his shopping list is Griezmann. And if it's about money, well, he'll be all right. Griezmann will. If we look at the comparisons here, currently worth 70 million on £110,000 a week. If he comes to United, he'll safely double that. So I presume the player wants to come. Do you think he can actually perform a role at United?
Oh, certainly. Wonderful player. He's a kind of typical Manchester United player. A lot of flair. He can score goals. He can create goals. I think he will be a wonderful success in Manchester United. After saying that, he will have a very strong opposition, especially from Barcelona, very especially Real Madrid.
If you look at Ibrahimovic, he's maybe at a stopgap. I mean, you had to get him quickly, and he's done a fantastic job this season.
Yeah.
Griezmann, something for the long term.
Oh, definitely for the long term, but I think certainly for next season and maybe the rest of this season, I can't see this one happening in this window, to be honest. But even if they got him in the summer, I would love to see him and Ibrahimovic play together. I think they would be excellent together. But in the long term, yeah, it's for him to partner up with someone else or even play on his own through the middle. He's capable of doing that job. He's got all the attributes that Ossie just mentioned, and you know, he's a top player, and he excites me. He's one that I would like to see at Man U.
From the outside, it looks obvious to the fan, the money, why wouldn't you come? But sometimes it doesn't work when a player moves countries. I mean, you did it successfully. Do you think he will?
Oh, I will say from the cultural point of view, he will have absolutely no problem to come and play for Manchester United. After saying that, I feel that he will prefer to carry on his career in Spain. Like, this is what I said, that Real Madrid probably are the very heavy favourites.
OK, another big spender, of course, Chelsea, Jose's old team, of course. They're going great guns under Antonio Conte, even if Spurs put a spanner in the works last week by bringing to an end a series of 13 wins on the trot. Conte wants to keep his squad together, but he's already lost Oscar and John Obi Mikel to the Chinese Super League, and he's hoping that that will be the end of the threat from the East.
I hope that with Mikel we finish with China for now. Yeah, I hope this. It's important now to remain with this squad and to stay together. Now we are fighting this season. We start on this season in the right way, and it's important to remain with the same players.
Any squad is going to be under threat from the Chinese, surely. I mean, they're a coming force and the money's fantastic.
The money is incredible, and of course, it's a big temptation. It's a lot of very big name right now already there, and the idea of the Chinese league is to be the best in the world, but it's not going to be that easy. From the player point of view, money, yes, you're going to be doubling what you are earning, maybe more, but from the football point of view, it's the place to play is in Europe, basically one of the big teams in Spain, in Italy, and particularly the Premier League.
The place to play is Europe. You started all of that, Ossie. Anyone who watched the World Cup in Argentina in 1978 cannot have failed to be mesmerised by the talents on display as the home side made their way to victory over Holland in the final. At the heart of that team was our guest today, Ossie Ardiles, whose mastery of midfield drove Kempes and co to the game's ultimate prize. He was already a hero in his home country, but he was set to become the same in a new land. Spurs manager Keith Birkinshaw took the football world by storm by bringing Ardiles and his teammate Ricky Villa to White Hart Lane less than a month after the tournament ended. Ardiles soon became a legend in the Tottenham Big Book of Legends and trailblazed a path for a series of South Americans willing to swap their summers for European winters with varying degrees of success. Long time ago now, but you did create a revolution. Were you aware at the time that that's what you were doing?
No, not at the time, no, not at all. But yeah, we were the very first, and at the time it wasn't easy at the time. Now it's much easier, of course. And at the time it was a lot of opposition from politicians, from the PFA, from newspaper, from the media as well. So it was very tough. But we started a big adventure, I would say, and I'm still here. So that was good.
A big adventure indeed. Once you got playing here, were you surprised by what you were up against, the quality?
It was tough. It was very tough. I mean, in Argentina, it was very scenic football. It was quite difficult. In here, it was more a fair play, but still very tough. I mean, especially when December comes and January comes, and sometimes we play away from home, and we play in second division, third division, maybe in the FA Cup. The pitches were pure mud, for example. It was a challenge.
Yeah, and talking of challenges, you came up with a few yourself, didn't you? You're a beautiful player, but a filthy, rotten fouler as well, as Paul knows only too well. You're still limping after you.
Well, that's right. I mean, you know, he's such a nice fella off the pitch, but look at that, disgraceful.
That is a superimposed picture, I'm sure.
That's Richard Gough next to him on the left, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you're lucky it wasn't Richard Gough chasing you, I wouldn't have thought. OK, as we said, Ossie was the first in a long line of South American players to come and make their mark on the European game. We asked South American football correspondent Tim Vickery to mark our cards as to who might be next. We didn't ask him to tell us how warm it was in Rio, but he told us anyway.
30 degrees and rising. A view like this, why on earth would anyone want to move to the other side of the Atlantic? But no shortage of candidates, including Argentina's rumbustious new centre-forward Lucas Prato, who plays in Brazil for Atletico Mineiro. Now, speculation over here is linking him with West Ham. I think that's probably unlikely. He's 28, no sell-on value, but Sevilla of Spain are also interested. Now, one who'll certainly be moving at some point this year is 19-year-old Uruguayan midfielder Rodrigo Betancourt. Plays for Boca Juniors in Argentina. Lanky, versatile, talented. Reminds me a little bit of a left-footed Lucho Gonzalez. Juventus have an option on him. If they don't bring him across now, it will certainly happen in the summer. Another midfielder who could be coming your way is Wallace of Grêmio in Brazil. A senior cap, one of Brazil's Olympic gold medal heroes. He's a holding midfielder, tall and commanding, getting better. Interesting, Leicester City. One who it's amazing to me isn't already with a major European club is giant Colombian international centre-back Yerry Mina, who plays for Brazilian champions Palmeiras. He cleans up in the air, he's quick across the ground. Now, his agent is saying that he won't be moving this year, but money talks, and if my club were in the market for a centre-back, I know where I'd be looking. And so, with a view of Sugarloaf to sweeten the pill, it's back to you in the wind and the rain.
Thank you, Tim. Those players, any of those that you've picked out before?
Well, yes, I know the two guys. I mean, Lucas Prato, central forward, very similar to Ibrahimovic, in fact. I mean, big guy, but very good wonderful technique, and I mean, so good that for example, in the last 3 games for Argentina national team, he played, and in the bench it was people like Agüero and Higuaín, for example. That give you an idea how people rate him in Argentina. So I think he's going to be wonderful in the. It's not the proper centre forward kind of the last one that you play the ball to him. He can do a lot of different things. He can play behind the centre forward. He should be superb, I would say, in the Premier League. And the other guy I know very well is the Boca Junior player, of course, Bentancur. Great talent, only 21, 22. However, when Tevez came to Boca Junior from Juventus, Juventus already have an option on him, so he will go to Juventus anyway.
Well, what do you think that the South American import brings to our game?
Well, you normally associate it with flair, but it's not always the case. You know, I think that, you know, when I look at when Ossie started off and he came, I mean, they lit the world up, him and Ricky Villa, in terms of flair and just different, the way that they played, the way that they were with the ball. But over the years, I think the profile of South American football has changed a little bit. Apart from Messi and the odd one, you don't get that unbelievable footballer like you used to get. So I think it's changed quite a bit. You know, you get a very bog standard midfielder at times, or you get a defender, you know, who's rugged. But you know, I'm a flair player lover, so I like to see the players with the skill and the ability, and there's not enough of them in the game, even in South America, for me.
Well, Flair was this bloke's middle name. Paul, thanks very much. Ossie, thank you too. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, that's about it for now, other than a reminder that we want to hear from you. Ask us the questions you want asked. Tell us about some of the deals in the offing. Generally, just keep in touch. Use Facebook, Twitter or email to do it, and we'll put your thoughts out there. We're back on Thursday when our guest will be Damien Comolli, the former coach, scout and director of football who's worked with Monaco, Saint-Etienne, Arsenal, Spurs and Liverpool. That's definitely one to look forward to. We'll see you on Thursday. Until then, it's bye for now.